How are you doing, guys? I hope everything is well. We're having a look at my data today. Everything from swim splits, power on the bike, and also the run splits, what I did in training, what led to the result in the race itself. We're gonna kick off with the Kona qualifications and what I did there. Obviously it changed over the years, but still it's gonna be relevant, I think. And we're just going through it. Also my first pro year now, what happened and what I kind of expect for next year. All right, first little overview. There's actually from Coach Cox here as a website. He has all the Ironman results that I ever did. So basically everything I finished here from 2012. My first Ironman, you can see there was 12th place in age group. There was an 11 flat and a 112 swim, 540 bike and a 402 run. That was my first ever Ironman. Was over the moon to finish that. We can't look at power yet for that bike, for example, because I didn't have a power meter back then. I literally had a road bike and I think some bars clipped on, or not even that. No, I think I had some bars. And a swim, I remember, yeah, I came out with 190 pulse and cramped already. Some dude told me I had too small wetsuit. That made for a really interesting swim experience, to the point here that there's my first Kona qualification, Ironman Switzerland 2016. It's a different course than it is right now. It's used to be in Zurich back then, also nice and hilly bike course as well. There I finished third in my age group in a time of 9:29. Here you can see the splits. The swim was a 1 hour flat and 15 seconds. A bike was 5:04 and the run was a 3:20. Let's have a look at the data, what I did exactly. So here are my training peaks. Let's have a look at the swim first. Here it says 3,900 meters swum, pace is 1:33, should be pretty accurate for that. But then towards the bike, there I did have a power meter already. Let's go here to analyze. And there it says 240 watts normalized power. So I don't think the watt per kilogram is necessarily correct, but maybe around 3 watts per kilogram on a hilly course. What was the max power is a little bit, we can have a look at that as well. So power by zones, as you can see here, I spent 1 hour 22 between 230 and 260 watts. So there are quite a bit of hills, as I mentioned as well, and 2 loops of those with hills, but also between 260 and 300 watts, I actually spent 1 hour there as well. So I assume those were the climbs. And then we had my first Kona 2016. Here you can see I got 37s in my age group there. There was a 9:44 finish time. Let's have a look at the splits there. They actually felt really good. There was a 102 swim, always without wetsuit. I was really happy with that. I don't come from a swim background. As you can see with my first swim as well, a few years earlier, the 112. So that's that, a 102 swim, 4:59 bike. I was always good in this time trialing. I always enjoyed that, and a 3:36 run in the heat there. So I was very happy with that. Very good job from my coach back then to get me ready for that, and I had a fantastic experience. Then we're going into the 2017 season. There at Edinburgh, that race only took place once. It's a 70.3, really fantastic race. There I was second in 4:25, pretty rolling hills course. Then another one, Ironman Switzerland, hilly course. Third in my age group is also the Swiss Championships in a 4:22. And then my second qualification, that was Ironman Florida in 2017. There I did a 9:06 and I got second in my age group, saving the second Kona slot. Let's have a look at the splits of that one and then we go into the data again. There I got my first sub 1 hour swim, I believe. Although it was a bit of a wavy swim and you had to kind of run out as well. I got a 58 and then a 4:43. That was a big PB for me, and a 3:17 on the run to secure that second spot. Okay, let's have a look at the data. So here we are back in November 2017. The swim, I mentioned also something about I got a cramp in my hamstring, some dolphin dives, wasn't used to that. And yeah, there the pace isn't right. I believe that's under 130 pace, should be. So yeah, don't trust necessarily average paces. But distance says 3,400. There's a question if the swim was short or if just the measurement got a bit messed up because you run out. But let's go to the bike split, 4:42. There I remember pretty exactly what I did there. There I had 259 normalized power, so 260 watts. And yeah, I was riding with a heart rate monitor as well. You could see I was aiming for like the 145, under 150 heart rate if possible. And yeah, I ended up with 148 average. There was a bit of an issue the first 20 minutes of the bike. You can see it in the power file as well. It's like this first section here. First 20 minutes I really suffered after the swim, like some of the legs didn't get under me. I think that was for sure a bit lower. That 236, see, it was like almost 20 watts lower. And then once the legs came under me again, I was here riding at the 260 watt range exactly. Here you can see really nicely the power to heart rate ratio. That's something that kind of indicates as well how the heart rate drift is, so from the beginning of the bike to the end. And here you can see, for example, the second half of the ride, although it was hotter temperatures. Does it show the temperature here? 26 degrees up to 30 Celsius, so on the higher end, of course, Florida, what you would expect. And yeah, some rolling hills, but mostly flat, of course. But yeah, power to heart rate ratio, that's a really good sign of that your body can actually do this. So for example, there's only 1.48%, so under 2% is kind of a magic number you're looking for on the run and also on the bike as well, that like, okay, this is not shocking your body too much. You can do this and then run a marathon after. All right, let's have a look at the marathon. Here are the overall stats at 3:17, exactly 42.2 kilometers. 4:41 pace. Also this one, pace to heart rate ratio, again 1.2% for the whole run. So there wasn't a lot of heart rate rise. Actually in the end it got lower, I remember that, we can have a look at that. So I started out, let's do the first, roughly the first half, I think 1:37 or something like that. There, here the 3% heart rate drift, 1:35, I was still on pace for this 4:36 pace, exactly what I planned and trained for. I had to calculate it. And then the second half, I believe, was a bit slower, which a lot of people have in Ironman, but I did have some issues. So their pace to heart rate ratio is actually a bit lower. So heart rate did actually go down a bit in the end, which indicates that there was some muscular things going on or energy system, something slowed you down. Because normally when it's a hot race, which it was, can we look at the temperature here? No, it doesn't say temperature, but it was hot, like 35 or something, like very hot, 35 Celsius. But what you can see here, that the second half was a lot slower, so 4:47 or something average, with like a nice little sprint in the end. But I did get a cramp. So there, I think back then I didn't know so much about sodium yet, for example. That was one. So I'm pretty sure there was a sodium loss issue that caused the cramp. Looking back now, what I know and didn't know back then. Also, let's have a look at the cadence here. There's 82, so that's 164 cadence. It's still okay, but a bit on the lower side. Let's have a look at the first half. Also 82. So actually back then that was kind of my cadence of choice. But cadence is a big one for running speed in an Ironman. If that's too low, you're just not gonna maintain it. So keep that cadence. It's kind of a magic number for cadence. Is, let's say, lower end is kind of 165, I would say, if you can get it to 170. But again, it depends on what kind of paces you're running. If you're running a 6-minute K, 170 cadence. If you're a taller person, over 180, 190 meters, then that cadence is going to be difficult for you. If you're a smaller person, a woman or man, that cadence might be easy because you have shorter legs. So depends a bit, but it is a massive factor for Ironman racing. So cadence is a sign of efficiency, and especially when you fatigue in the end, keeping the cadence up. You can train that in your long runs to like the second half of your long runs. Really pay attention to that cadence. Keep that up, keep that firing. That is kind of a neuromuscular thing you want to train, that your brain knows to fire like the whole time, although your legs fatigue. All right, those were the 2 Kona qualifications. If you want, we can have a look as well at the other races. So after that, I was still on a good trend, I think. There I was 10th, I didn't have such a good race. No, actually not. After 2017, my poor choices of my triathlon career began, and they began with low carb, high fat, and all these other things I went into already. Very fun times, not at all, and you could see it in results as well. They had a bike crash as well before the World Champs, 6 weeks before, and I had to get a new frame, and my shoulder and everything was a bit messed up. I had to swim with one arm for a few weeks, But I was happy to still, let's have a look, 2018 Kona, still over the moon a bit there, still swam 1 hour actually, although I had like I said, the issue with the shoulder and arm, but I arrived there overtrained like hell and already kept training there. So the swim was okay, 4:46 bike was also still okay, but then the run I completely blew up, 3:46. But from the start I remember like I was not like this is an energy dip, like I was from kilometer 1 to 42, I don't think I ever had that. I was like dead, like shuffling, like not one high. So that was quite the growing experiences. Yeah, then after that, there was really, I kept going, I kept training, but you can see already the result, the objective one, not just the times, but just the ranking. They also tell a story, right? I mean, yes, some races are different, competitive, but if you look, it's always 2, 3 in ranking, and then Sunday's 9th, 7th. Okay, here I got a 3rd place, but like also here then 7th, like things weren't going well. And there are a couple of reasons for that, obviously, but one of them is also training, and the other one, which I struggled with a lot in terms of doing a lot of mistakes, is the recovery part. And when you break down recovery, what's important, if you want to qualify for Kona or anything else, most of us ambitious triathletes, we only think about training. Let's get this coach, let's do this session, I'm gonna get this bike in these wheels, I'm gonna invest thousands, and then I'm gonna qualify. One of the biggest parts, which I think I already mentioned in another video, a lot of triathletes, they unfortunately have to run against the wall, I believe. If you're this type A super go-getter, which a lot of triathletes are, and I am myself, and I ran straight into the wall, and it took me almost 3 years to get out of it again. It wasn't just overtraining, but I got everything from heavy metal poisoning, no idea where from, and like, yeah, I was really down in the gutter for like a good 3 years. You can see it from results. It started 2017, then 2018, 2019, 20 was COVID, and then 21, 22 I came slowly out of it for sure. But yeah, it was a tough time, right? If you're always underperforming, and you can see it in the numbers as well. We can have a look, let's say, at 2 different races. Let's have a look, come on. Ironman Austria 2019, 9:22. Fantastic event, by the way. Love Ironman Austria in Klagenfurt. 59 swim, there was non-wetsuit, that was good. Bike 4:52 and a 3:24 run. And for some this might be good, but when you look at the raw data and also how I felt, I was frustrated, disappointed really. It was like, oh, come on, you did this already, what was it? Here a few years ago. See, that's already there. That's like a few years ahead. I did a very similar range. So let's have a look at 2019 Austria. First week of July 2019 Austria. I had a different system back then, but the session is still uploaded, as you can see, the other training system. Open water swim, pretty accurate here, 3,800 meters, 59. It was a non-wetsuit swim. I was really happy with that. I think it's the first time I swam non-wetsuit in not salt water. It was a clear water lake, so that it doesn't help with the buoyancy. So you actually, yeah, I was very happy with that. And then the cycling, I was already not happy, just in terms of raw numbers. Let's look, the data doesn't lie. Even if you change power meters and stuff, there's of course a factor, but you can see here, whoo, is that true? 240 watts. See, I already did 260 before. What was that, 2017, 2 years before. That's 20 watts lower on average. So yeah, things weren't looking spicy. I got better aerodynamically. I got a better, not better bike, but like better setup aerodynamically. That's why also speeds were higher. And the run, yeah, was a 4:54 average, 3:24, pretty accurate course, 41.8 kilometers. Did I have a heart rate sensor on here? No. Same cadence as you can see as in Florida, but just slower. So that means if it's the same cadence and it's slower, it could be the course is very hilly, which isn't so much the course. It's just like power per stride is not there. And we can do my final one. There was 2022 Ironman Sweden, something more recent. There I got 7th in my division, first time under 9 hours on paper, 8:56. They had a 54-minute swim, a 3:34 ride, and a 3:23 run. So with this event, I actually had COVID. I figured out actually only 2 days later that I got COVID positive, and because I had the most insane gut issues I've ever had in my life. And the exact, you could think, okay, it was nutrition, all that, and I thought first that was the case. But then 2 days later, suddenly I got these crazy cramps in my gut, and that was the exact same feeling I had in a race. So COVID was already well alive, and you can see it with the heart rate as well. We can have a look now. So 2022, Sweden. All right, we're here in August 2022. Let's have a look at the swim. There it says 133 average. That's not really correct. It's more like a 125 at a 54-minute swim. That got me a second place in the age group. Again, there with swimming, I really moved up, as you can see, from 2012, where I had just a 112 for this, and now I'm 54. Just for you to get motivated as well, that like, hey, you can for sure learn swimming as a non-swimmer. I didn't grow up as a swimmer or anything like that, and you can learn it. And 54 is not like in the high end yet, but right now we can have a brief look at the pro year as well, and the data, how bad it went. But like some things also went well, but a lot of things went wrong. So here, Mr. COVID, there I still felt alright in a swim. On the bike was alright. I actually went after heart rate. There at 260 watts, and the heart rate got crazy high in the end. 173 as well, I was rising. 260 watts, let's say 434, so the same as I had in Ironman Florida. Basically the same watts, different power meter, so you can't exactly compare. But yeah, Florida had 443, and now here I have 434. Of course, different courses and stuff. This is also known to be a fast course. Still, there was a lot of wind. Don't get estimated. You think it's going to be a free ride. Also, if it's a flat course, it means you have to have power all the time on the pedals. Otherwise, you don't move. Okay, you roll a bit, but like, you know what I mean? It's a challenging course. And then the run literally was a death march, because the first 4K was still good. 323 is kind of motivating, because literally I almost can't run slower than that, which is like my fat burning pace, or a bit slower even than that. At the moment, my fat burning pace is probably 430 minutes per K-ish, 430, 440, somewhere there. So here, June 2023, I only had 2 races this year, which is something I didn't plan on doing. I wanted to do a lot more. I love racing, I love the events. For a couple of reasons, family, health, and. Also some things going on, I couldn't do that. And let's have a look. So the swim, 1.9 meters, was my first pro race. It was in Sweden, Challenge Vansbro, probably say it definitely wrong. Vansbro, I have no idea. Anyways, 1,900 meters, 117 average, so 24:30. For me, big PB, because anything you can have a look at before the other halves. When you have a look here, it's like 28, 27. I never swam faster than 27 actually on paper there. So that was my first good progress, obviously, 24:30 for that one. But I didn't feel amazing, but also some things I wasn't used to. So for example, the start out, I wasn't used to that high pace, and also the surges in between. I could keep them up, but training wise, I don't think I was fully there to absorb that. Then the ride, the big dilemma, my ride, and there started the absolute horror show for me. There was a 211, which still sounds kind of fast, but here, 270 watts. So as you can see, the speed is still all right. It's 40.4 kilometers an hour, but I felt pretty much horrendous the whole ride. 270 watts, that's what I do for the reference for my fat max pace right now. I just did it 2 days ago, 3 hours indoor in the aero position at 135 heart rate. So yeah, the only positive about that is that I can generate quite good speed with little power. So that's some aerodynamics, of course. So horrendous bike ride for me, power-wise. As you see, I already did 2 times 260 watts for a full, and now the 270 normalized power. That's not very good. And here was the same thing, horrendous. I literally had to jog shuffle the whole thing, which again, jog shuffle 418 pace, which is still all right. 130, but again, I was very disappointed and not how I wanted to start my pro career. After that, I did a lot of changes actually, which from coaching to everything, not just because of that, several reasons, I don't have to go into it, but like, let's have a look at the other race here. Then July, I had my second race, that was at Turku in Finland, Challenge Turku here. And yeah, there I swam at 26:07, but it's known to be a bit of a slower course. I was really happy with that swim actually. So the things that I learned from the first race I definitely applied. Takeout speed not so much, that is still something, that's why I'm training a lot of that right now. High end to kind of really get efficient at that. But I was really happy because I closed gaps the first time, although I didn't make the pack in the beginning, but then I kind of kept up and on my own I swam the whole thing basically, and I closed the gap to people halfway in, so a very positive experience. The ride again, although you know in cycling I was doing in training some really good stuff, like it was really like 350, felt confident, but like there were now looking back things missing for sure in riding, and you can see it here. It was a 2:07 for the ride, 90k flat, a bit more. 285 watts. Again, I was more aiming, hoping, but hope doesn't give you anything. I was looking at, okay, I want at least, you know, like 320, 330 watts, something like that. Like, I was very confident that I can do that, but there are a couple of reasons for it. Training-wise, definitely wasn't conditioned for it. And there I was healthy, so there's no excuse that I was sick or anything like that. But 285 watts got me 207. So for next year, for example, I'm aiming for sure well over 300 for the full. And yeah, this time I'll be conditioned for it, and because heart rate wise and everything should be all right. Run again, I think I had 7 kilometers in me and then my legs just fell off. I don't know if it's deconditioning. No, actually not. With this one I know. I can show you the session that dug the grave. I went definitely a bit too hard in race week because I didn't want to, you know, like fully taper down to it. At this point I still thought I'm going to do a full Ironman a few weeks later, but that I had to cancel. So yeah, here it was a 1:24, which is a 4:12 pace. Again, I did faster before, a few years before, nothing crazy at all. So lots of data for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in comments below. I'm happy to answer. Everything is transparent here. I hope this gave you some motivation to set some high goals for yourself as well. Remember, like, even if you can't swim right now and only can do 50 meters, if you are stubborn enough, stick to it. Keep learning and always adjusting, like I did this year. Like, or the last years, I think one thing I'm proud of, that I never quit. I never quit and said like, I'm sick of triathlon, I'm gonna give this a rest for a month. Like, I rested when I had to, but otherwise I tried to. If I couldn't run, I would walk. If I couldn't, I'd do anything I could, because I knew this is my passion, I love this. That's why I have no doubts that in the future I will eventually perform well, because I'm just not gonna quit, right? So if even for whatever reason next year is gonna be absolute horrendous again, I'm still not gonna quit. I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna adapt until I get it right. But this time, what I'm doing in training, I feel very confident that it's gonna be a good takeout for my second pro season next year. I hope you guys are well. Set big goals, big dreams, and then work for them, break them down, make them to small chunks, and get after it. Have a good week and see you soon.